What's up, y'all? We back. It's been a while. It's been a long time. We sort of dropped the ball on it, but we're here again. There's at least one episode we recorded that I released just because it's been so long. I got a little busy, but we're back. The May podcast. Hopefully, this is a return to consistency, and hopefully, you'll be able to see us. So we're recording this through Zoom, so hopefully we'll be able to actually post this so y'all can actually see us and listen to us and see us interact and everything. So how you doing, Malcolm?
Hanging in there, man. Work is kicking my A double snakes, but you know what I'm saying? It happens to the best of us. But I'm doing good, man. I actually can't wait till the summer is over, really, because we're now at a space where summer to us don't really mean anything anymore. Like the end of the summer, man, like, oh man, we gotta get back
Right.
ready for school. Like we gotta buy books, and now it's just like when the summer ends, we just working regularly. Like it's no different. So yeah, no, I'm doing good though, man. I'm actually excited to be here. This is like my release, my outlet from work and a bunch of other stressful things that's been going on. I just got a new car. I don't know if I told y'all that, but I just got a new car. Well, not new, but like
It's new
a
to you.
new
Yeah.
vehicle. Yeah, like a new vehicle. It's actually it's a car. It's a Sonata or whatever, but like it's an older model or whatever. But the mileage is cool. What else? I'll probably be going to Houston in September for another battle rap event. Um,
Did you win a
uh,
drawing, or you gonna actually like go and pay out your pocket to see
that
it?
one I'm actually paying for because it's like it won't be like a VIP event. It'll be a actual arena event. So it's gonna be at the live warehouse where it holds like 2,000 people or whatever.
Uh huh.
I'm probably gonna pay the extra like 100 to like be on stage or be in the front because I want to go. I just don't like the aesthetic of like there being 2,000 people.
Right.
Hell, that's hella people or whatever, and I would much rather like be like either on stage or like maybe closer to the front where like I'm not really mixed around like a bunch of you feel me like a bunch of people or whatever. Because even though I'm vaccinated, that variant too
Right.
is that variant too is lurking.
Right.
So I'm just trying to be as safe as possible. But that'll probably be like the last festive thing I do. Because like I said, like I already know winter's coming. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody got vaccinated. They're opening up everything, which means the likelihood of you know, a second wave or like the spread or whatever the
Exactly.
disease is like
Yeah.
really, really high. So I'm just trying to have all the fun I can right now. Like once after September, nah, we done with the festivals, we done with the traveling a little bit for now. Um, yeah, and then we also got to look into when we have to. Well, it depends because like for if you got the Pfizer vaccination or whatever, I don't know when the effectiveness of it ends or whatever,
Hmm.
but we got our vaccinations in April, I want to say late April or whatever. So we still got time or whatever. But like once it hit 2022, I'm really, really gonna be back to like being super duper safe. I mean, I'm not scared of the virus. It's just a matter of like I tell this to everybody. It's just like I don't condemn people for not wanting to get vaccinated.
Right.
I don't condemn people for not wanting to wear masks. I'm just saying that for someone like me who, yeah, like if I end up getting COVID or whatever, it may not affect me as much. But the thing is that there's been plenty of cases where people have gotten COVID, have been asymptomatic, and pass it on to somebody who doesn't have that strong of a immune system. That is what I'm trying to prevent. The idea of me passing it to somebody and them potentially getting really sick or whatever. So I'm not thinking of it from the aspect of you know, my own safety. I'm thinking of it from the aspect of like if I have it, don't know I have it, pass it to somebody else and they potentially get sick, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. So that's the way I think of it. It's just me trying to prevent the spread opposed to me trying to prevent me just being sick. Like I think if a lot of people looked at it from that perspective, a lot more people will understand like why it's important to still have like a level of safety. I'm not saying being closed up in your house, but I am saying like still be cognizant that we're not all the way back to normal yet. So
Right. Right. before I talk, hold on. I got to show the polo. Shout out to Mr. DeBose, Mr. Polo Man. I'm repping the gang today, man. I appreciate you, even though you didn't buy it, but you Mr. Polo Man. But something new that's going on with me. I know I've talked to Leon and Zay about it, but I've started coaching at Arsenal Tech High School. I'm a DB coach there. I'm volunteering, but that's where Parks went to school at, so it's kind of
That's
interesting.
what I was gonna say. That's what I was
Yeah.
gonna say. Yeah, I remember he went to school there.
So it's kind of interesting. Yesterday was my first day, like actually getting to work like technique with them, because my first day was a scrimmage against Park Tudor. Then they scrimmaged, I think Pendleton Heights the following day. Wednesday
Mhm.
was a film day where we watched film and then we went to lift. And then yesterday we also watched film and lifted, but they don't have practices on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. They're just Monday through Thursday. And so after we were done lifting, I decided to stay like an hour and a half after just to work technique with them and try to help them because they have a lot of talent. They do. They're very talented and they have the potential to be good. It's just that they don't. They have they're they're lacking in areas such as like technique, being technically sound and technically disciplined, and also some football IQ areas just because they haven't been taught the game as well as I feel like they should have been. So we'll have to work there, but also it was fun because I got to actually, I decided because the quarterback was there too. Although that doesn't really matter, we still had a DB throwing the ball because I decided to go out there and line up at either corner or receiver just so I can show them. One, I always find it fun to do that. I think, especially since I'm still in the age gap to where I can still do all this stuff athletically and it not completely like destroy my body. I'm still kind of at the peak of my athleticism to where I can keep up with them. If not, I'm actually faster and quicker than all of them, so I can really exploit that.
You
But
had to throw that out there.
but I just like competing, and I feel like you know also being able to show them what I can do sort of will help reinforce the fact that I actually do know what I'm talking about and that I'm not just trying to blow smoke up your ass or I'm just here because I have connections because I know Chris and Carrington Smith and they're both on the coaching staff and Carrington asked me if I wanted to come coach so I said yeah sure why not I'd give it a try. Um but to really just sort of establish some type of credibility with them so they understand that you know I know what I'm talking about. I've worked on my craft for so long, so many years, and it was showing because when we were doing cone drills, it was the kind of we were breaking out the cones. They were surprised because I could put a cone anywhere and I would just know where it was after I've looked at it. And that's just I was telling that just comes with practice of understanding that you once being able to look at something and be like, okay, I know where that is. That comes with practice because it doesn't for me. It doesn't matter where the cone is. If we're going to backpedal to a cone, I can always backpedal right to the cone. And they were having trouble like really using like they were focusing too much on making sure that they hit the cone in their backpedal. And so I had to really tell them that the cone is really just there for a reference point. It's not, you're not supposed to literally go right to the cone and back up. It's just there for a reference point so that by the time you see you break it. That way I don't have to be sitting there and I have to do it manually. I can sort of go to the side and sort of watch your technique at different angles and look at it like that. And so they were surprised at that. And the other thing that they were really surprised with was the patience I have when they do moves because the thing that I was noticing with a lot of them is when the receiver starts dancing, they get a little jumpy, they get a little anxious, and they start sort of panic. And one of the kids, his name is Ryan. He's a safety. He tried to, do a couple moves on me, and I didn't really move. I just stayed inside. And he was like, "Why?" He was like, "How do you do that?" Like, because most of them, again, they panic when I tell them all the time. I tell anybody that plays corner, if you're gonna be a corner, the deadliest corners are those who are patient, those who understand that at the end of the day, even though it's the receiver knows where he's going, at the end of the day, it's the receiver who's making the first move. It's the receiver who you're waiting on. You just have to understand that. So it's always the receiver has to make the first move. If you're a corner, you're making the first move. Most of the time, you're going to lose just because you don't know where the receiver's going. And so you want to basically have it so he makes the first move, but at the same time, you want to limit the options that he has to beat you. So that's why I always tell people to line up inside because at the end of the day, an inside throw is an easier completion for the quarterback than the outside throw. I'm not as worried about somebody the quarterback throwing like an outside fade as I am him throwing a slant, because it's easier for him to throw the slant and it's harder for me to get to the ball for a slant rather than if he throws a fade. I feel like I can always get to a fade. And so it was just the little things like that, and I'm feeling like they're really starting to understand and starting to click. And I think part of that is, one, they haven't had like a real DB coach at Tech for a while. I don't know how long, but I know they haven't had one at all this whole year. And then two,
Mm,
I think being around their relative age gap, even though I'm still older, but being closer to them in age, I feel like they might view me a little bit more as like an older brother or like a peer, and I feel like they're more willing to listen to me because of that, and they don't necessarily feel like I'm out of touch with them and their generation or with the
mm,
way football is played now. Like a lot of older coaches, I feel like are, especially at the high school.
right. Mm. No, that's dope. That's dope, man. I mean, we um before the show or whatever, we were talking about like certain things we need to do to release from work, you know what I'm saying? Or like have an outlet from work. The podcast being one of them, coaching being one of them, me going back to writing is one of them as well. So it's always dope to kind of have like that, um, something else that you can kind of depend on and like, take your mind or put your mind at ease or whatever. No, but that's really dope, man. How you want to do this? It's been a while. How you want to do this? You want me to, MC it? You know what I'm saying? I got a couple topics
So I
that,
guess I guess we can trade topics. I got some topics too. So I guess you can give a
yeah.
topic, I give a topic, and then we can end.
Well,
Uh,
you already
or
know
go ahead.
we talk about sports or whatever. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Well,
And
yeah.
your
Go ahead.
boy got it right. Your boy got it right.
Yeah,
Your
we
boy
can
got
talk.
it
We can
right.
we can end it on that, I guess. But before we continue, I was about to say something. I was about to say. Damn, I forget. Oh yeah, you know what? Let me talk about my job a little bit, just because again, like at First Financial, now I've moved out of the realm of being in learning development. So when I was in learning development,
Mm,
they put me in charge of basically designing a presentation that's predicated on building trust within the organization between like managers and their employees and their workers. Um, and hopefully if everything works out, and from so far the feedback I've gotten from everybody I've been working with, they really enjoy working with me. And the thing that's been nice about working there is the fact that they just really, I feel like they really value my input. It's not like I'm just the intern there and they're just throwing me things to do. They ask
mm,
me about important questions that they have. They seek like sort of my advice, my guidance in certain things and my thoughts. And I enjoy that, just because a lot of times, a lot of places where you go somewhere, you're sort of starting at the bottom of the totem pole. They just sort of throw you things to tell you what to do. They don't necessarily think about you and your opinion. And I'm of the view that everybody's opinion matters. Everybody's view matters, because at the end of the day, you can learn something from everybody, whether that's something to do or something not to do, good lessons, bad lessons. And so I feel like them being in that environment to where, yes, they are my superiors in the organization, and yes, they have aides on me. They also understand that my experiences, especially, I think my background really, because I've been working with a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion stuff too. And I feel like my background, if you look at everything in my resume, everything I've studied, really attests to being able to try to work towards diversity and make sure everybody's included in everything. And so I feel like my background also kind of helps them be more open to it, just because again, that's basically what I've been studying and working on my 4 years at Wabash. But yeah, that's the thing I probably enjoy about it the most. But right now I'm working with community development, and I'm just going through like certain grants that people are applying for to see if we can give them certain money that they're requesting, and then just try to work on and being able to invest in the community, because every bank has to post their CRA ratings, and
mm,
that's basically a rating of, how well being are you being available to your community, rather that's, and especially to like moderate to low income communities, is something that's a
mm.
very important di- oh my god, almost a dynamic graphic area. Damn, Malcolm, my vocabulary is starting to dip a little bit. I feel like I'm getting a little dumb. Yeah, demographic. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, again, the CRA, that rating is like, it's very important to make sure that banks are loaning and lending out money and being very involved with their low to moderate area income income demographics that they're involved in. So I've really been enjoying my work. But you can go ahead and start the topic. I'm sorry for rambling a little.
No. But no, that's good work though. One thing that like I said and like, as we were graduating is that like it's important that we're doing work that, what I'm saying, not only that we enjoy, but like work that has like some value to it, you know what I'm saying? Like it's very easy to make a lot of money doing stuff that don't really have like on a general scale have like that much value to it. So you're doing something that you actually care about, and you're doing something that you feel like has value, has merit, or whatever is really really good. For real. But first topic, we always get into the sports, and this is very. I'm actually very emotional, and I'm still kind of shocked that I'm gonna say shocked. I can't say shocked, but I'm very happy that this happened. The Bucks pulled it through, man. The Bucks in 6, man. They pulled it through. They came back from a 0-2 deficit. You know what I'm saying? Again, in this playoff run. Giannis is one of the best like closeout performances ever, not just in finals history, but like playoff history. Like if you just considering the circumstances of how he did it, dropped 50, had like 50, 14, and 5. Was like I want to say 17 from 19 from the free throw. Um, what else? Only hit 1 3. He only hit 1 3. 1 3. He took. I want to say he had like 2 attempts, but only or 3 attempts, and he only hit one. He was like 1 from 3 from the 3-point line. So that put it in perspective of how many points were hard-earned points. You know how hard it is to get 50 points going straight to the rim every time? Every time?
I think
Like,
so part of the reason why he's able to score 50 going to the rim every time is just because he's so efficient when he goes to the rim. Because I'm pretty
right.
sure in the series he was shooting like 61%. Like he had
Yeah,
one of the best finals series, period.
yeah.
Like, I think there's only a couple finals series that I can think that top the performance that he had in the finals, and that would be LeBron in 2017.
It's 16 too.
Yeah, well, damn it. You could damn near, yeah. Well, I'm mainly thinking 2016. My bad. Yeah, I'm thinking 2016. I mean, 2017 was cool because I'm pretty sure he had a triple
Also,
double that series, but 2016 definitely. And then
Kevin Durant, 2018.
that's decent.
Um,
Although,
you can also say you can also say I gotta throw him in there. You can also say Tim Duncan 03, Shaq 01.
Shaq,
You can say Kobe 09. You can
Shaq,
say
and then maybe Jordan in 90. They played the Suns in what 90,
96. No,
95?
not
No,
96. I would say
they
90.
played the Suns in
They played
92.
the Suns in 93. They
93.
played the
Yeah,
Suns in
there it
93.
is. Yeah, 90.
You could also throw Larry in there. I forget what year.
You could throw Magic in there for
You
his
throw
rookie
Magic in
year.
there.
But
His
it's a
first his
lot. But
rookie year.
I think he's definitely in there for one of the
His
best.
just here is just more like his is just more. I think it's just more notable just because of like the time period, the time frame that we're in. Just the manner of how he did it, and I'm very like. It's no secret that Giannis is one of my favorite players. Like I say this as a joke, but also serious. If I was an NBA player, like I would play exactly how he plays. One, because I can't shoot, and two, because like I'm just a huge AY laughing, but I can't shoot. But his game is predicated on exerting as much energy as he can to like score or whatever on both ends of the floor, and I respect that or whatever. Like he had to grind it not only like the whole notion. Like it's kind of funny because like people forget that like he didn't come in that size. Like he was like he was Kevin Durant, like prototypical size or whatever when he came in the
Yeah.
draft. He didn't just come in like naturally like buff. You know what I'm saying? Like they showed a picture of him when he was a rookie, and I want to say he wasn't even like close. He wasn't even like 6'11" yet. I want to say he was close to like 6'9", and then he grew a couple inches. Like a couple years later, and then like I want to say they said that he was like 200, close to 200 pounds when he first came in, and now he's 240 or
Right.
something like that, or maybe even more, like maybe even more drastic or whatever. But the point is, it's like he worked to get his body to that particular mode that it's in or whatever. And it's just the simple fact that like he was able to do it like his way, right? A lot of people were saying like he needed to go to another team, another market. He wasn't meant to be like the number one person on the team to make them
I
like get a
always laughed at
championship.
those. I always know he could be the best player on the championship team. My thing was me wanting him to move from Milwaukee just had to do with the consistency of the team around him, and
Yeah.
specifically his co-stars, how they seemed to always sort of just let him down when he needed them the most. He would perform, but when you're going against teams that have multiple stars and both of their stars are performing, and your co-star is not performing, it's kind of hard. Like I feel like that's really what that Sun series comes down to, is the fact that Devin Booker and Chris Paul, outside of the first two games, really weren't performing that well on the same night. Devin Booker would go
Mm,
off, but Chris Paul would have a bad night.
or
Chris
vice
Paul would
versa.
have a decent night. Devin Booker only really, outside of like the first two games, Devin
He
Booker only
disappeared
really had
twice.
one bad
He
game.
disappeared twice. He disappeared
Well, he was
game
disappeared a little
three.
bit in game two, but I mean they didn't really need him. But game three, he definitely
Nah, he
disappeared.
disappeared game three. Like game three, he sat out the whole second half because they was getting blown out.
Yeah, and he was
Um,
in foul trouble that game too. But
last game, the game six, he didn't really show up. I want to say it was
I could have swore he had 30.
game five,
I don't mind.
game five. He showed up and like put on the
I was about
show,
to
but
say games
he
4 and
got
5 he
ripped.
showed up because he dropped 40 points back to back.
He showed up in game five, but got ripped at literally the worst moment. That's the worst.
Talk
Like
about that, yeah,
that was
bro.
the
I think it
Drew made him
what
look like a little
yes,
boy.
bro.
Like
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 let's see, game 4,
shout
Chris
out to
Paul,
Drew though.
bro. I don't know what. That's another thing. I don't know what the hell was going on with Chris Paul, bro. I'm sorry
Yeah,
for
man.
kind of cutting you
Chris
off,
Paul is
but
another favorite of mine. It was hard to see. Like that was the only thing. Like I wish Chris Paul had played better in the series, even though he didn't play terrible. It's just the turnovers that he had were like really really
bro,
bad, really
he
bad.
was dropping the ball. I've never seen Chris Paul lose his dribble so frequently, especially in clutch moments. Because it was what I think. So game
He
3 they get
fell.
blown out. Game
He
4
fell.
he they have a chance to win the game in game 4 and he loses the ball. And it's like,
Yeah,
oh my God, what are you doing? D Book gets stripped in game 5. And I think game 6 something similar sort of happens.
yeah.
D Book got stripped again
It's
in game
crazy.
6, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy because Chris Paul actually had a really good game in Game Six, or whatever. Like he I want to say he was a leading scorer on the Suns. I want to say he had like 25, 27 points. But yeah, nah. He said he's gonna run it back though. He says he's coming back next year. I personally don't think it's okay. So I don't necessarily think it's over, but it most definitely was like this was most definitely their best chance to do it.
Definitely.
Um, I think the West is going to be interesting next year, off the simple fact that Murray is coming back for the Nuggets. We still have the Jazz, who's going to be a overall like all around solid team. I think the Clippers going to make their surge back if Kawhi. Depends on how Kawhi handles the injury. We know he's kind of
He'll probably
different when it
miss
comes to like
he'll probably
you
miss
know
the first half of the season, knowing him.
right. As Leon would like to call them, the Mulatto Boys are back. The Splash Brothers
The
from
mulatto
the
boys.
Warriors will
Hey,
be
that's
back.
funny.
Um, and then obviously you got like the Lakers. It'll be interesting to see what the Lakers do if AD can stay upright.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So the West is still but the thing is though is I think the Suns have so much depth to where they can still compete and potentially make another Western Conference Finals appearance. Now, will they make it back to the finals? I don't know, but I do. What we see from that Suns team is that they can get like contributions from everywhere, and I think DeAndre Ayton is only going to get better. I think D Book is going to take like this experience that he got and like harness it into him growing as well. And Chris Paul, I mean, what can you really say? I mean, he's just gonna have to like fend off the narrative that, you know what I'm saying, he can't do it. You know what I'm saying? Like he's just gonna have to use that as some type of motivation. I mean, he's already used his motivation, but he'll really have to use it double time to even make it back to the finals. So, but all in all, I was like I said, I've never been so happy to see somebody win or see a team win. You know, and you gotta, and it's so it reminds me of like when Dallas won in 2011 or whatever, because I was a huge Dirk fan. And there was so many people on that team that like you wanted to see win a championship, like Dirk, Jason Kidd, Jason Terry, Tyson Chandler, Caron Butler. Like it was so many guys that you like, you know, that have really, really like grinded in their years in the NBA and never really was able to like get a championship, and they ended up getting the championship. It's kind of the same thing with the Bucks, like Drew Holiday, Giannis, as I mentioned, PJ Tucker, Brooke Lopez, like those guys deserve championships just because of how much of a contribution that they not only gave to the Bucks, but like the contribution that they gave to many other teams that they've been on. You know, yeah, man. I mean, I was very happy. Like I wish it would have went to 7 just for like, you know, I don't know, just for the sake of it. But at the same time, like I feel like, you know, this is probably one of the best. Okay, I ain't gonna say that. I would say this is probably one of the most exciting finals I've seen in a while, like in the last 5 years.
Yeah. Like I said, I thought the Suns would win in 7 once the Bucks win their 2 games at home, just because I didn't see the home team losing a game in the series at all. But as soon as the Bucks won Game 5, I knew it was going to be over in 6, just because at that point, not only did they have all the momentum, but the Bucks are damn near impossible to beat at home.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you have the chance to close them out at home. I didn't think, like, I knew it was over at that point. I think the Suns came out hot, and they just sort of, I don't know what happened. They just sort of fizzled out. It is what it is. So the next topic,
Yeah, let's do
something
that.
I've been seeing on Twitter. I know you've heard about it. It has to deal with Texas and how they just passed like legislation about how they're not going to teach about
Yep, Let's
Martin
get
Luther
into
King's
that.
"I Have a Dream" speech, and
Let's get
how they're
into
not going to
that.
teach about how the KKK isn't morally bad.
Yep.
It's funny, bro. It's funny. You want to
So
open up?
so we've kind of gotten, I call it breadcrumbs. We kind of got like a breadcrumbs of like stuff like this happening in other areas and other situations. For instance, I want to say Trump had a speech earlier in 2020 talking about how like, you know, us talking about or the educational system talking about slavery or whatever is a tool of division of the nation. Um, as if we're not already divided. If anything, I just feel like it's just a way of making sure that, you know, white supremacy prevails. Quite honestly, like I don't like I've I don't know, like it's just like it's so much hypocrisy because we'll preserve like, you know, a Confederacy like statue or whatever, but we won't talk about slavery, or we'll outcast slavery. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just
Yeah.
certain things that
You
are
know why
like,
that is, though, right?
well, yeah, well, we know, but I'm saying like it frustrates me just because it's like, and then from an educational aspect, right? I feel like you're doing the students a disservice because, you know, this is not just learning; it's also understanding human nature and understanding like a part of history that kind of has a mold into why not only our nation but the world is the way it is. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, you know, I don't like. I just feel like it's just irresponsible. Like I can't think of any other adjective. I just think it's very irresponsible for them to do something like that.
It
And
just
obviously they don't feel it is because they feel like, come on, like we know what it is. Like But
It just feels like, again, I'm sure, again, I've talked about the lost cause myth here on this podcast before, but it just feels like it's sort of this second awakening. And the reason why, again, we have all these Confederate statues, but we don't talk about slavery is because at the end of the day, the Civil War was fought because of slavery. Now, I'm not saying that's why like individual soldiers fought per se. You know, everybody has their own reason for fighting. But a lot of, again, but at the end of the day, if you look at a lot of the journals the Confederate soldiers wrote, a lot of them who didn't own slaves were saying they fought for slavery just because they felt like that was the best way for the South to continue to live, just because, again, that's what it was. But if you look at why the southern states seceded, at least in the deep South, it's because they 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 felt slavery was being threatened, and it's not necessarily just the fact that they were going to take away slavery, because people point, oh, the North was, Lincoln was willing to allow them to keep slavery. It was the fact that they also wanted to expand it, and Lincoln didn't. At the beginning, Lincoln's trying to stop them from expanding, which is like, again, the Missouri Compromise is this whole big thing because you're trying to keep a balance between slave and free states. And Lincoln's whole thing is, when he's getting elected, at least this is what he's saying. He's not against slavery. He understands it. He's trying to keep slavery just to try to keep the union together per se. But
yeah,
he
he's
he
not a
wants to
neutral
end.
person.
Yeah,
Really equal.
he wants to end the expansion of it. Is what he wants. He doesn't want it to expand to any other states. He wants to just sort of keep it in the South and keep it in the deep South and keep it where it is. And that goes against Southern interests. So that's why they end up seceding, just because they feel like slavery and everything that they want to do with it is under threat. And so, again, that goes to the point, the KKK, they're founded by ex-Confederates as a way to torment and terrorize black people to keep them from using their newfound economic, but especially political power. Because what people don't understand is, at the beginning of Reconstruction, when you have the presence of these Union soldiers who are there to keep the order, keep the peace, and look after these African Americans, a lot of them are getting elected to office. A lot of them are voting. They're having a real impact on the politics of the South. And so the KKK created the sort of terrorize these people, put fear into these people, sort of control these people, so that now they're not voting, and now the Southerners can get back control of their country again, of their states and everything. So it goes back to the fact that, saying the Civil War was fought for the South for slavery, sort of, and they lost. That sort of says that, at the end of the day, your fight was for nothing, because again, you weren't able to preserve what you want to preserve. So to try to rewrite the narrative, try to make it seem like, you fought, and you didn't fight for just completely nothing. They try to say, oh, it's about states' rights, it's about, all these other things. They try to say it's the war of northern aggression, when if you look at it, the South are the people who fired the first shots of the Civil War, and all these other things. And it's just, again, it's just a rewriting of history, just to sort of try to write this narrative. And at the end of
Yeah,
the day, it
it's
says to me, which is my main problem with America, which I find that my mom, anytime I talk about, things that this government has done, or issues like to our communities or just to our people, my mom will talk about how, a lot of times she feels like, just, she's not talking about me, she's saying in general, because again, being from Jamaica, she talks about how, one, like, race works different. If you're from Jamaica, you're just Jamaican. And she was talking about how, like, she was watching the Naomi Osaka documentary. She was talking about how, like, when she said that she was going to represent Japan in the Olympics, a whole bunch of Americans were having problems with that, particularly Black Americans were having problems with that, because they're like, well, you're one of us. When in reality, her dad is Haitian and her mom is from Japan, and she was born in Japan, and if that's who she wants to represent, I'm okay with that. Like, I don't have an issue with that. But she talks about how, like, in other countries, it doesn't matter what sort of race you are. If you're, at least in her experience, if you're Black, you're still Jamaican. If you're white, you're still Jamaican. If you're Asian but you grew up in Jamaica, you're still Jamaican. I always have to remind her that's not how it works in the U.S. Race is this big thing. But she also
racist
talks about,
politicized here.
literally, race is literally what the society is built upon. But she also talks about how she feels like a lot of African Americans just victimize themselves, and then they don't try to necessarily do anything about it. And it just to me, my problem with America and the reason why I always like to bring up the things that the government has done isn't because I'm trying to victimize myself per se. It's because one, I understand if we really want to turn things around in this country, we're going to need the help of the white middle class and the white moderate per se. Because again, they're probably the biggest. The poor and middle class whites are the biggest demographic. They all sort of fit into the same area because at the end of the day, we're all being used by the same system of capitalism. And that goes back to Bacon's Rebellion. I could keep rambling on about this,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it really goes back to the fact that America isn't, well, most countries like Germany, for example, are able to look at their past, look themselves in the mirror, look at their sins and be like, okay, we did wrong. We acknowledge we did wrong. We can sort of talk about these things and sort of use that to move forward. Like how Lucas says, they can talk about apartheid and it's not this taboo thing. Whereas you try to
right.
talk about racism or slavery in America, it's this taboo thing. It just reinforces this idea that in America, we're not comfortable. America's not comfortable with looking at herself in the mirror and acknowledging her sins. And that's my main problem. That's why I always like to bring these things up, because you can't heal without acknowledging. My mom keeps trying to preach, we should move forward. We should do all these things. We can't be united. We can't move forward if we can't have safe conversations about the past that's happened that still has an impact today. And people who try to say it doesn't have an impact today, that's bullshit. You clearly don't obviously know. But it just it shows me that at the end of the day, America is uncomfortable with facing the sins of her past, and she would rather try to cover them up or sort of rewrite them or shield them away than have to really deal with them and sit there and acknowledge them and be like, okay, we're wrong. We did this. This was wrong. Let's really have a conversation about this. Let's have a conversation about the effects that this has, and let's really try to face it. Whereas they just want to, they might address it so it looks like they're saying it. It looks like they're, trying to face it, but then they're sweeping under the rug and try to do something about it and try to rewrite history. We talk about history to the point where it's like you're really just running away from your past, and that's my main problem with America. And I feel like America will never change until we can, as a society, understand that we have to be able to look back and reflect on the past and understand, okay, these things happen. Why did these things happen? How do these things still affect today? And not sort of have this sore spot or this taboo about these past things that have happened.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned how like when Lucas talked about how like they can talk about apartheid and it's not this taboo thing, and even Germany and like their shortcomings in morality, right? And I think that just points to like how like in those situations like there was somewhat of a deconstruction of like that particular system at the moment, whereas I feel like America doesn't really try to deconstruct their system, whereas they try to like find a way to knit it in a different fabric or whatever. Like there's no deconstruction of the system or whatever. Like
That's
when
the
we talked about
coming
like
out. I
we
like
had a
that
discussion
analogy.
about yeah, like we had a discussion about Juneteenth and that becoming a national holiday, right? And how like that's kind of one of their tactics of like trying to put like a veil over you and like to kind of like give you a notion that like America as we know it is changing or whatever. When actuality it's like pretty much at night like a level of tokenism where like they'll give you something and still won't address like other underlying things that are issue or whatever. And to go to like the it's a what I think what really bothered me was it's like it's funny that they're trying to ban like talking about slavery, that's important, but it's even to me it's funnier to see that they're trying to ban talking about the MLK I have a dream speech, which is literally one of the most like I don't even know how to put it. Like, it's not even that radical of a thing to ban. Like, I don't understand what would be so radical about his speech. Like, it's literally like the epitome of of integrationist like ideology or whatever. Like something that they've been trying to promote and put on a pedestal since the civil rights movement or whatever, trying to integrate instead of trying to be a separatist thing or whatever. So it's kind of funny that like they'll go as far as to even like try to strip that away as if like that was some radical thing that they deemed to be like what I'm saying, like
Mhm.
they won't even like want to acknowledge like that speech, which is like one of the most peaceful semi-protest speeches that you can teach in history, in Black history, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think again, that's kind of funny just because oftentimes the Martin that we're taught about in school is far from the actual Martin Luther King who existed in real life, and that "I Had a Dream" speech is the main quotable, the main thing that you use to talk about that the Martin Luther King that we're taught about in school, and that America wants you to think of, who was this person who was just fighting for racial equality and was about inclusion. It was okay with everything else about American society. That the only thing he really had problems with was the racial division. Where in reality, he's a socialist.
Right,
He's trying to fight for the poor. He's trying to gain all these other rights and economic equality. And we hide that stuff when we talk about him. So I guess, I mean, apparently Texas just isn't going to talk about Martin Luther King now. But it scares me for all these young, not only young people, but especially young African Americans, because we already don't learn a whole bunch about our history.
right,
That sort of helps shape your identity, and it gives you pride to know about yourself. And so I worry about what it's going to do to them, and
right,
as a sense of what's it going to do to their pride and their sense of belonging and their sense of empowerment, for one. But two, one of the things that the Lost Cause does, which is so brilliant about it, is the fact that it was implemented in the schools. It was the people who were teaching. Women were in charge of it. The Daughters of Confederacy were really the ones pushing it, and that's because again it's a focus on the education. So that's why I say it's sort of like a loop again. But it's not only going to be damaging to the images of Black people and how they see themselves, but it'll also be damaging to white people, and not only how they see themselves and how they interact with Black people and how history has portrayed them, but it'll also hurt. I feel like it'll hurt how they're able to reflect and really take in history and be able to be like, okay, this was wrong. They're sort of just gloss over it and sort of say, this happened. It was kind of bad.
right,
Now where everything's better, where it's like, it's most of the problems that are that happen in America today that minorities face are an extension of what happened in the Civil War, which is why I feel like we don't spend enough time in school talking about the Civil War, talking about Reconstruction, because those are the two main events that really shape America for the rest of the history and until what we know it as today. It's those are the main two events that I feel like as as people in America are really vital in covering, because how Reconstruction went really just that sets the tone for the rest of the South, and not only the rest of the 20th century or the 19th century, but also the 20th century, the 21st century, which is where we are today. And so I feel like not teaching them, again, trying to teach the KKK as people who are not morally wrong is just again trying to repaint this whole thing, try to gloss over it, and try to distract people from understanding that Reconstruction and the Civil War are probably the two of the most important things to look at when you study history, just because that sets the precedent for the America that we know today.
Quick story. So at work today, one of my coworkers, she's a white lady, really cool lady or whatever. We were talking about movies and stuff like that or whatever. And I brought up, I was like, oh yeah, like this year, like a lot of movies have been like heavily streamed through like HBO Max, like the Michael B. Jordan movie, him and the Lauren London movie, Mortal Kombat. And I brought up Judas and the Black Messiah or whatever. And she was like, "Oh, I've heard of that. That's the Black Panther movie, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was just like, "I haven't watched it just because I heard like the Black Panthers were really bad or whatever." And I was just like, "Where'd you hear that from?" And I was like, "What did?" And she was like, "Oh, just family members and stuff like that. Like they said they were like some type of like violent group of people that was like causing like destruction over the city or whatever." And I was just like, actually, I had to. So that was one. That was
Right.
I was really. I don't know why I was shocked, but for some reason, like it really reinforced. Like there's people that literally, like as you mentioned, like will really reconstruct like the historic fabric of what something is. Like that's kind of crazy. And like, and the thing is, she like, I want to say like she's my age, but she has no knowledge of like not only who the Black Panthers are, but what they represent and what type of impact they had on, you know what I'm saying, like the US society. That's really, really scary to me. It's just like, if anything, like if they consider the Black Panthers a radical party, then what do you consider the police?
Not only that,
Like
but that
that's what I'm
again,
saying. Like,
right? That goes
like
back to the whole KK thing.
because if you're
K
going,
thing.
I'm about to say, if you're going off of like the merit of like what is done in U.S. society, because I don't recollect the police ever doing a lunch program for students. I don't recollect them ever trying to like, you know, combine like communities of different colors together. Like, I don't recollect them trying to preserve urban communities that in lower income situations to, you know, like I don't get it. Like it's just very funny. Like I don't know. Like that moment in itself though really kind of reinforced that, like, you know, the master race really wants to remain that. Like they'll like, and then I forget who said it. I think Freddie Gibbs said in one of his lines. He says it's kind of interesting. Like they'll say like the masters will remind you that they were once masters. He was like, it's kind of interesting that every 3 or 4 years they'll come out with a new slavery movie or whatever, just to kind of remind you that at one point like they were, you know what I'm saying, the masters or
Right.
whatever, which is kind of like symbolic of like, you know, this idea of tokenism, this idea of like we'll we're the saviors, like we'll grant you rights because, you know, we have the power to do so, not because it's morally right. Like that's just, I don't know, it's kind of crazy, but nah.
Damn, I had to train of thought. I was about to say something. Hold on. Give me 1 second.
But yeah, no, but the whole Martin Luther King thing in Texas, well, Texas has always been like, yeah, man. Like I said, Texas is a place for me to visit, not to live. It's just too much going on. Like for real, it's like too much going on over there. Like Texas and Alabama are like, in terms of like the southern states, are probably the worst when it comes to racial relations. Mississippi too,
I was about to say I think Mississippi probably probably the
even
worst.
though Mississippi is starting to like, um, it's starting to like transition a little bit, but I mean, obviously, so conservative, like heavily conservative, but you know, there's still some transformation there, like some potential there. But like, yeah, obviously, Georgia is starting. You see the transition of Georgia too, like they're starting to transition a little bit too. But Alabama and Texas are heavily like, yeah, like
Yeah. I think that's good for that topic. You got one last topic?
yeah. You know, I got one last topic. You know, I got one last topic. This topic, um, we're gonna do something a little bit different. Um, this topic pertains to it's gonna be funny. All right, this topic pertains to father and son. All right, father and son. The reason why I say that is because 2 weeks ago, um me and my dad were like working together to build like some equipment machine or whatever. Like we were trying to build, like I was helping him build like his he bought a machine. It was like a four-way operating machine where it has like a little lat pull down bar. It also has like a tricep machine. It also has like a leg machine and whatever. It took us like 4 hours, 5 hours to build together or whatever.
Mhm.
And in the back of my mind, I was thinking of like particular things that I'm glad my dad taught me, that things that I'm glad that like he taught me and I didn't have to figure out by myself or whatever. So I guess we can do that. Like name like 2 or 3 things that you wish you're glad your dad taught you that you didn't have to figure out for yourself.
Hmm.
If you're thinking, I can go because I already have some off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
go ahead and name one. It's
Yeah.
so for me it's a little hard just because like for me personally, I definitely feel like I relate to my mom a lot more.
Mhm.
My mom was a stay-at-home mom for most of my life, so most of my life lessons have been taught through her. Just because at the end of the day, she's the one that I've been around the most and has always sort of been that guiding force in my life. Not saying that my dad hasn't. It's just that at the end of the day, my mom has the advantage of having spent a lot more time with me than my dad. Um,
Right. Yeah, nah. I can go.
just name
I'll
one.
go from
I'll have one by the time you're finished with your
yeah,
first.
yeah. I'll go. I honestly don't really get into this bag very much because I don't really care for it. I'll go into the financial bag first. One thing that my dad taught me was just the importance of like credit. Like he taught me that like he didn't necessarily go through like the nooks and crannies of how like credit works per se, but he did ingrain it in my mind that credit was important. Like when I was 16 or 17 or whatever, he always told me that, it's good to have money in the bank, but it's also good to have credit alongside that money in the bank that you have or whatever. And he was just talking about how like, it took him a good amount of time for him to, get a house and be able to take care of certain things. Because although he was good at saving money and although he was good in like, what I'm saying, like, managing money well, he just never like until he got like old enough and really paid attention, he never really was that privy to how important credit was or whatever. Because he said he used to pay for everything like through cash and all types of stuff or whatever. Which I mean, he's from the South, so it's a little bit different
Right.
or whatever. He's actually from Mississippi or whatever, so it's a little bit different. But he told me that like it's very important, like at a young age, to like try to get to understand credit as much as you can. Just because like once you have like a good level of credit and once you're able to like understand like how it works and like the tricks and trades of trying to either build or preserve, what I'm saying, it makes your adulthood a lot easier, especially your young adulthood, right? Because a lot of young adults find themselves in a hole because like they'll apply for a credit card, use it, and don't understand how to manage like using that credit card, or they'll apply for like multiple credit cards, get in a bunch of debt, right, and end up, always having to hustle back to like, what I'm saying, like make up for the debt that they caused or whatever. But like him pretty much putting it on my radar that credit was important is something that I appreciate him for real. So
So one thing that I'll say is just the importance of always making time for family and just making sure that you're there. So even though again my mom was a stay-at-home mom and he was mainly working, he would always make it a point that if I had like a band concert or if I had a practice or a game that he would always
mm,
try to come and at least watch part of it. If he couldn't be there to see all of it, he was always going to be there to at least watch some of it. And he would always be there to pick me up and everything. So I think it's just the importance of being able to put your family first, but also realizing that even though he's busy, he still was able to show up to these events and show that he cared and was interested in the things I'm doing, and also just being able to take pride in your son because he'll talk a lot of times to. I remember he used to talk about his clients, talk to his clients, and one of the things he would use to sort of try to help them, go through with getting a loan through him and with his bank and with him would be the fact that I was going to Wabash and
mm,
how a lot of these people that he works with know what Wabash is. And so, he would always say, I'm just trying to get my son through Wabash, which, that's funny, that's a funny way to try to get manipulate people, make them pull at their strings because people know
right.
that Wabash is expensive. But at the same time, he enjoyed the fact that his son was capable enough to take that challenge, and he has pride in the fact that I was able to go to a challenging school and to come out on the other side. He also
Mm,
takes pride in just everything that I do in terms of from the football field. He'll have conversations with rather that's from like one of the coaches who he felt like wasn't necessarily treating me fair in high school, um, which is totally true because I'll tell this story real quick just because it's a little relevant. So after my sophomore year, my DB coach who was there my sophomore year, he ended up leaving coaching, just
Mm,
because he found a different job where he wanted to be able to spend more time with his family because he was finding it very hard to spend time with his family. So he found another job and he stopped coaching, and this allowed him to be closer with his family, be able to spend more time with his family.
mm,
But our defensive coordinator, he was talking. So they were. This was after my sophomore season. This was in the off season. They were having a conversation, and my position coach wanted to play me my junior year, but the defensive coordinator didn't feel like I was ready, which I feel like, that's stupid. At the end of the day, I feel like when it comes to positions, the position coach should have to say, just because he's the one that's spending the most time with them, he's the one that's coaching them through it. And if he feels like I understand all the points, then I feel like I should be able to play. But he was my senior year. He sort of confronted not he, the defensive coordinator sort of got basically pulled him in this room. He said, I get this feeling that you don't really like me. He was like, well, I don't really like you because I feel like you're not
mhm,
my son a fair shake and everything. So it's just, even though I feel like that can be detrimental, I always would try to tell, don't necessarily intervene, because a lot of times I think parents don't understand that coaches are very petty, and that if they don't like you, they'll take it out on your son, even though I feel like that's the dumbest shit ever. That's what
mm.
happens, and that's what happened in his case, definitely. Um, but just being able to just have my back like that and support me like that says a lot, and just that shows me that it doesn't matter necessarily what I'm doing, that he'll always be there and he'll always care about what I'm doing and try to have my best interests at heart. And so I think that's an important lesson he's taught me. Just, always have your family's back and always just show up and support, because oftentimes the thing you can do most for your son or your wife or whoever it is that's in your life is to just show up, right? For me, I don't I don't care about getting gifts. I don't care about, money, getting money from people. I don't care about getting gifts. Like if I were to go through Christmas and my birthday and not give anything, I would be okay with it, because at the end of the day, the thing that matters to me the most is the support of the people who I care about. And that's what I have. And that's really all I care about. And really all that I ever really want, to be honest. So that's one important thing.
That's dope. I feel that. And that kind of reminds me of my dad. When my dad got me into football for the first time. He was actually one of my first coaches, and yeah, like I those are some of the best days of my life. Just like I think me and my dad were the closest in those days. That's dope to remember. Another thing that like my dad taught me that I'm glad I didn't really have to teach myself was just the importance of being humble. Um, he was always a man of like few words, more action. Not telling somebody what you're gonna do, but just doing it. Um, and just not making not being like, big headed, because at the end of the day, it's like, when you're doing the stuff you're doing, you have to keep in check like what you're doing it for and who you're doing it for. If you're doing it for validation of someone else, then 9 times out of 10 it doesn't really mean that much to you. And if you're doing it to make someone else feel like an ass, or doing it to, make yourself feel bigger than what you actually are, um, then it's just not that important. So I think he taught me to be humble at a very like early age. Like, I mean, like I really don't trash talk. I really don't, um, boast about all the things that I do. Like, I'm very prideful and very proud of this, like some of the things that I've done and accomplished or whatever. But I always find myself trying to keep a level head, because at the end of the day, like the easiest way to become stagnant, or the easiest way to not elevate or evolve or progress, is to constantly, you know, reiterate the things that you've done already, like living in the past or whatever. So, yeah, no, him just like always like working to keep me level headed or whatever. Even times I feel like I'm the shit or whatever, I feel like I done big shit. He'll be like, yeah, that was good, but there's still plenty of other things you could do. There's still plenty of other things that you can keep on your radar, that that you can achieve or whatever. And I think just him always being like that stoic, having that stoic personality, and like him always like acknowledging when I do something good, but not necessarily overpraising me is something that I actually do appreciate. I think I didn't really um I don't think I really internalized it the best when I was younger. I just took it as him not really like caring as much.
Hmm.
But like in hindsight, I look at it from the standpoint of him just pushing me to like be the best person I can be, and like not always needing to seek someone's validation to kind of prove that like I'm, doing the right thing or prove to myself that like, I have a lot of value. That just has to come by yourself. Like you have to do that yourself. Like you should never really seek validation from anybody else but yourself. You know what I'm saying? So no, I just really appreciate that though. Like I feel like if it wasn't for, him um reinforcing me to always keep my eye on the prize and focus on what's next, I don't think that I would have achieved and done all the things that I've done thus far. So yeah, no, but being humble is one of those things that, I always can attribute to him for sure.
All right, this last little lesson, because we're at the hour mark, so I'll make this. I'll this will be the last thing before we wrap up. So the other lesson I want to talk about is just the importance of taking advantage of the moment and just doing everything that you can now. Just because one, why wait to do something tomorrow if you can do it today? Just because that's one more thing that you can get out the way that you can make room for to do other things. But two, tomorrow's also not promised, so you can't necessarily hold off. Like holding off, I still struggle with this. I don't think he understands, but I've definitely gotten a lot better at it, and I'm still trying to work to where there are things where a lot of times, well, I'll be like, okay, I could just do that tomorrow, but I'm getting better at having this, nagging myself in
Urgency,
my head
yeah.
and just
Mhm.
repeatedly telling myself like, no, I need to do this now. And so he's always been somebody that, you know, if he's gonna do something, he's gonna do it. And he's gonna do it now. And though that doesn't always work out because I feel like because he's like that, again, he sort of lacks patience. So sometimes there are situations where if he was more patient, things would have worked out better and it would have been smoother. There most of the time I find that he's very effective at what he does because he doesn't necessarily wait and he doesn't wait because he's lazy. He'll just go do it if he feels like it needs to be done. Why not do it now? So he'll go do it now. So that's something that he's taught me that I feel like I'm getting better at is just being able to just okay, see something, have something on like a list or something, see it and get it done as soon as I'm able to get it done now. That way I can get it out the way and start working on other things. And just really being able to take advantage of that moment because other people will sort of wait till tomorrow and wait to procrastinate. Whereas if you do it now, you're getting this advantage in life. You're getting sort of ahead of people. And so I feel like that's another very important thing he's taught me.
Again, another great. I think I think that's just a common life thing. You know what I'm saying? Like I think a lot of us take life for granted. And I was thinking about this the other day. It's just like there's been plenty of people that have had like such potential, right? And we're planning on doing so many amazing things, and got their time cut short, or just expected that they had enough time to achieve what they wanted to achieve. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes like what I'm saying, like it gets cut short without any notice, and what I'm saying, like it's kind of scary when you think about it because it's like it can all end tomorrow. So no, I do think that's just an overall life lesson is just seizing the moment. You know what I'm saying, and cherishing every day, and also acknowledging that every day is like a day for you to get better in some aspect, shape, or form. So I love this show, man. I really do love this show. I love doing this with you. It's something I look forward to. It's something that like keeps me in that mindset of being a student still. I kind of miss being a student, not necessarily
I know
being
what
in
you mean.
school, but being a student, like the
Engaging.
mindset of
Yeah,
being a
I know what you're
student.
saying. Yeah, like engaging with people like this.
Right. Yeah.
I think I'm gonna start writing again. I think I might start writing raps too, Malcolm. I don't know. Today I was freestyling my head, man. Oh, hey, hey.
So
That shit
on
was
one episode, I'm a snippet of the mixtape I made when I was 15. It's pretty terrible, but we're gonna do a snippet of it, and we're gonna
yes,
break down
sir. Yes, sir. Hold
we're
on.
gonna
Where's the
break
applause
down how
button?
bad
This
how
one?
bad my flow, cadence, everything was. Like we're gonna break it down. Like it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think I could ever be like a. I'd be feeling bad how hard I am on music and people that do it professionally because like I was terrible. But at the same time, I ain't get paid for it, so I think I'm entitled to like, you know what I'm saying? Like it comes with the territory. Like you getting paid millions to make music, I feel like I should tell you if it's trash or not, even though it's objective or whatever. But yeah, no, we're gonna do that one episode. I'm gonna go in my archives because I took it off of YouTube. No, I was about to say, ain't no way. Like, you know, nah, because I took it off of YouTube like right before I came to college. I'm like, nah, they ain't gonna use this against me. You know, people be lurking. So I said, oh no, we're not doing that. I did take it off. So I'm gonna go on my old dusty laptop and find it, and we gonna check it out. But all right, close this out. I'm on 1%.
All right, hold on. All right, let me turn this up. All right, first episode in a while feels good. I've definitely been missing this. So I've been feeling lately like something's been missing, and it was definitely this. So it was definitely good sitting down talking with Malcolm as it always is. Appreciate y'all for joining us. Hopefully I'm about to post this tonight probably just to get it out there. But this will probably be the first episode where you'll be actually able to see us. Zoom makes it a little easier to record since I don't have to actually have a real camera there. But thank you for joining us. Please like, share, subscribe, spread the word out about this podcast. Hopefully I'm still trying to work to figure out how to get on Apple Music because to get in on Apple Music, you have to go through a third party. So I'm just asking one of my friends who uploads music to Apple Music on how what third party service I should use to do that shit with. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to us ramble on, talk and shit. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Be safe. Have a good day, night, evening, whatever it is. Good morning, whatever the fuck it is you listen to this. And we out. Take us out, Hillside. I stood 10 toes down and pulled it straight out the mud. Yes, sir. Nah, real shit. Yeah, nigga.
That shit could be every time. He said, nah, real shit. Make my own way. L's and all.
Because
I can see into